What is up, our friends? Hopefully, everyone had a beautiful day today. A little later than we normally go with Dreamer Cypher. This is going to be a quick one. Actually, Patrick and I had done a IG live with our second guest that we had on the podcast, Dan Mangina, and it was a great episode. A lot of nuggets that he dropped in that episode, and then on the live today went another hour long, which is not the intention. A lot of times with these lives, it's really trying to do shorter ones, but when the conversation goes and the conversation's flowing, you run with it. You don't let it stop. And so it was just a beautiful thing, really, to have somebody of that stature, somebody that's done a lot in life and is doing some big things in regards to impacting a lot of lives, being featured on some big publications, big platforms. But just to have somebody that's down to earth and is open and just wanting to take the time to connect and leave a legacy and really seeing how he can impact the lives of others. It's a beautiful thing in regards to that piece of just meeting somebody and connecting with them and then having them open up and just share stories, share a message. And one thing that I had to take away, and I'll update this video after it's done, I'll put the link to the IG live that we did with Dan in the comments so you can go over there and check it out. But one of the things that he had shared, and when you look at what he's done and he's accomplished, one of the things that he stated in there was, don't believe the hype. And coming from somebody with everything that he's done, everything that he's bringing to the marketplace, the impact that he's making and the lives that he's changing, with somebody that down to earth and saying, don't believe the hype, and really touching into that, because when we had talked about it and I shared the perspective on when he had highlighted that, there's something that I've talked about, and this is something that I've learned from another mentor in another group, and it was the fact that expectations are predetermined resentments. And so when Dan shared this idea of don't believe the hype, it's the same thing, that if you start falling for the hype that everybody else is putting out there, you end up setting yourself up for resentment and disappointment, because you're believing the hype that somebody else is telling. You're believing something that somebody else is pushing. And it kind of goes along in regards to the idea that Gary Vee talks about, this idea that he's like, you've got to stay neutral. You've got to go and don't get big headed with the aspect of the positive accommodations, the highlights, the people speaking out for you and whatnot. But also, you can't allow the negativity to draw you down. And Dan, in the live that we had with him today, he shared something, because I asked him, I was like, how do you stay even killed and make sure that you don't allow the negative Nancy's and the negativity that people put out there? How do you stay afloat, and how do you keep pushing forward? And I don't want to butcher it, so I'll tell you, you need to go check out the live so you can pick this up. And with what he shared, it was one of those things that needs to be the piece that has to be cut over and over again and shared, because we have so many individuals that, when it comes to social media with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, everything, when it's out there, people are keyboard warriors wanting to run their mouths without having any ramifications. But Dan shared a huge bomb that you've got to go listen to and really pick up and go in regards to holding on to that and put that into your toolbox and your tool belt to make sure that you keep pushing forward, because everybody's got an opinion. So this is the thing, that with everybody having an opinion, who are you going to listen to? And it's one of those things that if you listen to the wrong person, then you start going down the wrong route and wrong piece of the journey and whatnot. But then when you start listening to the hype and you miss out on staying even killed and staying course and staying true to yourself, you miss out because you start going the wrong direction. And so I'm grateful for being able to meet Dan, for Dan giving us his time, because ultimately starting a podcast, a new podcast that didn't have anything out there yet. Like I said, Dan was our second guest, and he could have turned around and said, no, thank you. But he jumped on, and I want to give a shout out to George Davalis for that connection and allowing us to get connected and highlighting and saying, hey, I think you should connect with Dan. So shout out to George for starting that piece for us. But just very, very excited, very grateful to have these connections, start building the connections. And that's one of the things here that I highlighted was how are you connecting with people and what are you doing to start the relationship, to start the connection process? And with the day and age that we live in, with social media and really only being separated from a person by one or two people, even being separated by that person themselves, you've got to make the commitment. You've got to go out there and reach out and ask, and just ask, because if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. But if you ask, there's a 50-50 shot that it's a yes. And so if you have somebody that you want to connect with, reach out to them. Social media has leveled the playing field where you can potentially connect directly with that person instead of having to go through 10,000 gatekeepers to get to this person. You may have to work the other route where you work the outer circle of this individual, whoever that is, and connect with those people and build that relationship and go that route. But ultimately, you're only 1 to 2 connections away from reaching and connecting with somebody that you truly want to connect with. But you can't be scared. And if you're fearful and you're like, well, they're never going to answer, they're going to say no, that's what's going to happen. You've just got to keep pushing forward. You've got to keep pushing it out and reaching. So this one was very quick. Ultimately, it was just wanting to come on and highlight the live that we did with Dan today. If you haven't listened to that episode of the Legacy Digging podcast, that dropped 2 weeks ago. He was one of our first 2 guests that we had on. And then as we shared and we've talked about it in the bio for us on Facebook, there's the Linktree account. You can click on that. We have created a giveaway. It's running until the end of this month for the launch of the podcast. And a book that Dan wrote is part of that giveaway. And so the way his community came on that live when he was with us and gave us his time, and just to hear what people were speaking, I know people spoke highly of the book that we have part of this giveaway. So if you'd like to be part of that giveaway, go to our Linktree link in the bio, click on it, and a couple different things, but it's labeled launch giveaway. And that will allow you to get in there, get into the entry, and potentially win some books that are free. We're taking care of everything. But if you want to check out the live, the link to the live will be in the comments once this is done. Highly suggest go check it out. Go find those value bombs that will stick for you and bring that and put that forth into action. So other than that, we will catch you guys next week. I'm not exactly for sure guest-wise who that will be. I know Patrick's got some people that he's talking to, but excited to be able to have them come on, share their story, and just have a conversation like we have with everybody else. So appreciate your support. Love you guys. Catch you later. Have a great night.